out there today, so hopefully Amy is at home enjoying it. Feet kick back, relax, and hopefully you are too, and you can join us here for the next 2 hours or so because we have a lot to talk about today. So we'll get to the weather in just a moment, but so many important things just developing. This one really started to develop yesterday, flight cuts we are talking about. So we know that airlines have been ordered to cut flights by 10% at 40 airports to ease some of the strain on those air traffic controllers. And this is also being impacted right here at home at MSP International Airport. So we will be talking to a couple of pilots about what this means for people in the sky, as well as those on the ground working, of course, to keep us safe. And then also what this means for you at home. Maybe you have a flight today, know someone who does, or maybe a flight this weekend or even in the coming weeks, because we are still in the middle of this government shutdown. So there is a lot to unpack with that. Also, I'm sure you have heard this one from your friends. If you're not a hunter already, hunting season is certainly here. I saw one of our photojournalists, Scott. He had the bright orange ready to go, ready to get started this weekend. So we'll speak with the DNR. We'll talk about what hunters should know as they put on their blaze orange and really head out there. And of course, we want to keep you safe as well. And I know I kind of hinted at the weather here. Say it ain't snow. We have Jared Piepenberg kind of on this side here. We might be talking about snow in some places. In fact, we are. We saw a video a little earlier. We will share that video with you, but we want to know, are other folks going to see snow as well? So we'll discuss the weather, as I mentioned, a big hunting weekend this weekend, and speeding on the roadways. If you're speeding, number one, you don't want to be speeding, not safe. But number two, you might have to pay a big fine for that. So lighten up on the lead foot for sure. Red light cameras are catching speeders, and you will get more than just a warning starting today. So we'll just talk about what kind of warnings and what kind of money you could be paying if you are caught speeding on some of the Minneapolis roadways. Also, get your nerd on. I didn't put this in there. Don't get offended. I wanted to put my little glasses on as well. But this one should be a fun one. So Lauren Andrago is there at Twin Cities Con. It is back, so I can't wait to see what she has. She also has a very special guest. I'm not going to say too much, but I'll just leave you with that. Okay, and also later, Monday marks 50 years since the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. This has been a really big story. Of course, people still find a lot of interest in this. So we'll talk with Split Rock Lighthouse. They are doing a very big commemoration on Monday, honoring the lives lost on Lake Superior. So we'll get to that story as well within the next couple of hours or so. But let's get right to it. As we mentioned, the big story today, the top story, the FAA, this order for airlines to cut flights at more than 40 airports. This is including, again, at MSP, and this is now in effect. So according to FlightAware, about 850 domestic flights have been canceled today. This is coast to coast, including 36 at MSP, we know. This has just been updated as well. Yesterday, airlines scrambled. This just seemed to catch a lot of people off guard. Airlines have been scrambling to adjust their schedules, not just for today, but into next week as those cancellations really ramp up. So at the root of all of this, of course, what we have been talking about, we are now in what, day 38 of the government shutdown. This is the longest shutdown in U.S. history. And the shutdown has really left essential workers like those air traffic controllers, like we have been talking about, just kind of left up in the air. They don't know what to do. TSA agents as well. They have not been getting paid. Some people have literally received paychecks with $0 on it. And many people, as you can imagine, if you're not getting paid, you might not show up to work. So many people have been calling out sick, leaving some of the airports just short-staffed, and those concerns just looming here. So some people in the industry, they say they saw this coming. One in particular is a pilot who we have spoken with on Fox 9 All Day a few times before, known as Wiz. Wiz joining me now, Matthew Wiz Buckley. Wiz, I just want to give some perspective so for some people who may not be familiar with you. You're a commercial pilot, but also a Top Gun graduate, a former fighter pilot as well, and a former American Airlines pilot. And I cannot wait to talk to you about this because there is so much to discuss. And I know we only have a few minutes to do so. So I just want to jump right in here, and I want to mention something that I saw. It was an interview that you actually did about a month ago to the day, and it is very interesting. So I want people to hear this, and then we can kind of dive into it. So when asked about what the flying industry could look like if their government shutdown continued, and this was on October 8th, you said this. You said, quote, the bigger airports need air traffic controllers. If we go down to skeleton staff, the airlines are going to have to start canceling flights. It is going to be ugly. Wiz, I guess they don't call you Wiz for nothing, because you pretty much called it. You hit the nail right on the head there. But is this as ugly as you thought, and do you think that it could get uglier?
Well, let's start right there, Simone. First of all, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here. I don't want to say this. I'm going to say this. This is going to get worse. When the FAA is forced to reduce capacity at our nation's largest airports due to staffing levels, that's bad. That means we're already broken. When the FAA acts, it's usually because they're seeing a lot of bad things. So how can we, the flying public, expect TSA agents, air traffic controllers, to work for free? So at the same time these people are showing up to work for free, the people that caused the shutdown continue to get paid. What type of bizarro world that we live in? And obviously, as you alluded to at the intro there, I'm a veteran. I care about the United States military. 40% of our enlisted troops are on food stamps. So they're getting a double whammy too. Not only are they not getting paid, but a lot of I can't even believe we have military folks on food stamps, but that's a separate conversation. So Simone, long answer to your short question, this is going to get worse, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, the worst time for this to happen when families are trying to get together.
Yeah, I can only imagine the strain that this is happening, that this is having actually on some of the people in this industry. When you talk about, you know, having to put your feet on the floor every morning and going to the job that you're not even getting paid for, just seems so hard to do. Have you been speaking with people? I know you're in the industry yourself, but have you been speaking with maybe other pilots, air traffic controllers? How are they feeling right now, if they could put it into words?
I was actually speaking at Harvard Law the other day at a psychedelic conference, and I flew home yesterday from Boston Logan to Palm Beach. I looked every TSA agent in the eye, shook the hands with ones that wanted to shake hands, and I said thank you. So I'm asking the flying public, say thank you to these people that are showing up to work for free. Do not take your anger out at them. So let's start thanking some of these people. The airline crews, we're pretty motivated. Why? Well, we're still getting paid. But Simone, last time I checked, Delta, United, American, they're not nonprofits. If they're cutting capacity, that means what? They're parking airplanes. They might not need as many crews, flight crews or cabin crews. What if they start furloughing people? What about the folks that work in the airports, at the restaurants, the bars? What if their hours start getting cut? We're getting into the holiday season, and people are going to be, losing even more from their paycheck. This is just an absolute train wreck. But shout out to the air traffic controllers, the folks that are showing up. They care about safety. Even though they might not be getting paid, they are there putting in the work, burning the midnight oil to make sure travel is safe. So if you get delayed or you get canceled, thank God for unanswered prayers. That happened for a reason.
Yeah, we've heard people say, they can't even afford daycare. They can't afford to get to work because they can't pay for the gas right now because they aren't getting paid. You mentioned that word safety there, Wiz. I wanted to touch on that for just a moment. From someone in the industry, does the aviation technology, does it help fill any of these gaps in any way, as we're seeing some of these, essentially skeleton crews in a sense?
It does somewhat, Simone, but there's still the human factor. I mean, look at the horrific midair collision over the Potomac between the helicopter and that regional jet. There was an air traffic controller who was dual tasked. This person was working too frequent. They were essentially doing the job of two controllers, and that mishap occurred. I'm not saying that they were mainly at fault. It was the instructor pilot who failed to take the controls, but that air traffic controller could have given out a couple what we call sugar calls that could have presented that mishap. That person was getting paid at the time. So in aviation, we have a saying, it's a self-cleaning oven. And if you're not at the top of your game, if you're worried about your paycheck or childcare or how you're going to pay the mortgage or the rent, on the first, you're not focusing on safety. Even though I know they're showing up to work and trying to do the best, they're only human, Simone, and things are going to break. And I hate saying this, but I think it's going to get worse.
Wow. And if it does continue and it does get worse, do you see some of these employees who have now left, do you see them coming back? And also, how does the FAA really bounce back from this? Because if we're already cutting flights right now, do you think that we will still stay cut, or will they eventually bring them back?
Simone, I'm old enough to remember 2000, right? We were in a softening economy, and the dot-com bubble burst. The airlines furloughed, and then obviously the September 11th attacks. The airlines use that as an excuse to lay off tens of thousands. The economy ain't hit on all cylinders right now, despite what you might be told by some folks in our government. The airlines might use this as an excuse, to throttle and furlough maintenance folks or cabin crew or airline pilots. Airlines go in cycles, Simone. They hire until they furlough pilots, and they furlough pilots until they're forced to hire. It always seems like they're out of cycle with what's going on. So it's an interesting question you raise. That they could be using this as an excuse, if it gets worse, to right size, so to speak, their businesses.
Wow. Should we, as travelers, feel safe right now?
The air traffic controllers are obviously a critical part of the air traffic system, but at the end of the day, there's pilots in the front of these aircraft, and they all interest is self-interest. I jokingly tell people, the movie Sully, when he landed on the Hudson and saved all the passengers. I'm like, I got to be honest, as aviators, we were caring. If I lost both motors, I care about me. The fact that 150 people are sitting behind me is gravy, but I care about me in that moment. So the flight crews in these airplanes obviously focused on safety. We're going to be okay, but the folks in the air traffic control towers and the centers, they're under stress. They might miss a traffic call. They might miss something, an altitude call, and it could result in something really bad. But we just have to bank on the aviators in the front seats of these airliners to keep us safe.
Ooh, sounds like we're putting a lot of responsibility right there, Wiz. I know you kind of mentioned it.
Amen.
You mentioned it a little bit there. And since this did happen this week, the UPS crash in Louisville, heartbreaking. I know just yesterday we started to get some of the names of some of the victims. I think I read one story, a guy, he was on there with his 3-year-old granddaughter. What do you make of what happened again? Another crash once again that I feel like that we're seeing more in the public eye a little more frequently.
Well, Simone, that's part of it, right? I mean, this thing right here is a mobile, you can relate to, is a mobile newsroom. I'm old enough to remember when cell phones were bricks, right? and not a mobile newsroom. So instantaneous, CCTV, we can see these mishaps. I mean, you've probably seen some of these airline incidents where people are live streaming as they're grabbing their bag over the overhead and the cabin's on fire, and I'm yelling at my phone, like, leave your bag, do not, So I think that's part of it too, is that sadly, we can bring the horror up close and personal. Yeah. When I saw, as a human, when I saw those videos, my heart hurt. As an aviator, it's devastating that those aviators, it is not common for an engine to separate off the aircraft. These freight carriers, I flew for FedEx as well, FedEx, UPS, they fly older aircraft. Some of the MD-11s that UPS flies were recently brought out of mothballs in the desert. They were out in the desert, and they brought them out, give them a basic maintenance check, and they put them on the line. And something like this happened. So the freight carriers might be a little bit more fly-by-night-ish. The fact that there's not 200-300 passengers on the airplane. So that was devastating. I'm a little shocked, to be honest with you, that FedEx or UPS hasn't grounded their MD-11 fleet, at least for a couple days, to inspect all of the hoist points or the engine points. So that's a little shocking to me. Or the fact that the FAA hasn't said, hey, all the MD-11s in this country are grounded until we figure out why that engine ripped off the aircraft. It doesn't make any sense to me. Thankfully, there's not too many airlines on the planet right now using MD-11s for passengers. It's mainly the freight dogs.
Oh, okay. So it's nothing. I mean, I wouldn't say too worrisome, but it's something to where you say there are not many out there.
Correct.
Okay.
Agreed.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Wiz, any last words you would say to maybe some of the people in the air traffic controller world, or maybe some of the passengers too who maybe have a flight this weekend?
Yeah, well, first of all, to the air traffic controllers, my brothers and sisters, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for showing up, because we appreciate it. To the flying public, patience. Practice a little bit of patience. You're going to need it, and gratitude. I mean, the fact that you're, you woke up, you got a roof over your head, running water, the fact that you even have an airline ticket to go somewhere, you're blessed. So just take it, take it in stride, folks, and we're all going to get through this together. And to our, for lack of a better word, leaders, do your job, folks. Do your job and open up the government. It's an absolute disgrace that you all are getting paid and these people are not.
There we go. That's a good place to leave it, Wiz. A lot of people being impacted by this government shutdown. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you on better circumstances next time.
You bet, Simone. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Have a good weekend. Okay, so I did want to mention that it is important to note that the number of canceled flights are being phased in. So we talked about that number, cutting the flights by 10%. So this will kind of be like over time. So these are being phased in. So today, they are only cutting 4% of domestic flights. International travel is not being affected by this. But by Tuesday, that number of canceled flights, they will jump to about 6%. That's increasing each day. And then until they reach that full 10% that we talked about in air traffic by next Friday. Okay, so let's talk about, this is something that I saw on my phone. So if you did, go to look at any of the airlines, maybe Southwest, maybe Delta, it is important to note that some of these alerts are now front and center on major airline websites. And we have a couple of photos for you here. These are just warnings for some of the customers of possible changes. So they have some advice for the travelers that are flying over the next few days or so, or as long as these cuts continue here. So I'm just going to pull mine up on American Airlines. I'll read it to you right now. Here's a travel alert. It says the FAA has directed that all airlines reduce flight schedules starting Friday, November 7th. So if your flight is impacted, we will let you know. We are committed to keeping our customers informed and have issued a travel waiver, providing additional flexibility for customers traveling between November 6th and 14th, so you can change your trip or request a refund online, or also and this is from American Airlines, so this is in the American Airline app. So it's just important to know to check your airline's website or the app before heading to the airport. You certainly don't want to get to the airport and have to deal, with all of those changes. So many are also allowing customers to make changes for free as well and to make those adjustments. So another big story that we have also been following as we talk about the government shutdown, we have to talk about SNAP. So a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP benefits in November. So this all comes after the administration agreed to partially fund the program by using those contingency funds. You probably have heard that over the last week or two or so. So now, here's where we stand. A Rhode Island judge, as of yesterday, ordered the administration to find the money to fully, we were talking about partials at first, so now we're talking about fully fund SNAP benefits for November. And the administration has responded to this. It was very quick. The Trump administration quickly appealed this, but no arguments have been brought forward just yet. Of course, we'll keep our eye on this, though. But again, the ruling did give the administration until today to make these payments through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, again, that is SNAP. But it's really unlikely, though, that people will be able to see the money on their cards that they use for groceries just that quickly. Can't turn it around that fast. But do remember that a lot of people are being affected by this. We have taken a look at some of the stories here at home in Minnesota, but across the country, 42 million people, 42 million Americans rely on SNAP. So the judge is saying that the defendants failed to consider the practical consequences associated with this decision to only partially fund SNAP. Also saying they knew that there would be a long delay in paying partial SNAP payments and failed to consider the harms individuals who rely on those benefits would suffer. So again, certainly keeping a close eye on that. We know we're still waiting on a vote. Republicans and Democrats seem to be very tied up as we are in, as I mentioned, day 38 of this shutdown. Healthcare can't agree on that. So all of this tied to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. We are now day 38 as we head into the weekend, and today may be decision day. Hopefully, a lot of people are hoping, though, for more moderate Senate Democrats. So there is a vote planned for today, but right now there is no time set just yet. Of course, we're keeping our eye on that one as well. The Senate, though, we do know, just convened about an hour or so ago. Yeah, here's a live look for you right now. So on the table today, we'll just go through a few things here. A revised stopgap bill that would fund parts of the government for things like food aid we're talking about here, for things like veteran programs, the legislative branch, among other things, and just extend funding for everything else until December or until January or so of next year. Capitol insiders, though, say that it appears unlikely that enough Democrats will get on board with this new approach, which does not include health care. So again, we are keeping a close eye on that one, as everyone is hoping we can finally reach a deal in this government shutdown, because again, people aren't getting paid and we are really feeling the impacts. All right, so where are we going next? We were talking about hunting season. As I mentioned, a photojournalist was in the newsroom with his bright orange on. So people are excited. With hunting season, we're talking about deer with the DNR, and a big change in the weather this weekend. Yeah, it's gonna be a little cold. Hopefully you got the big jacket. Jared Piepenberg is here. We'll talk about it coming up next. Also, as we head to break, we want to give you a live look right now. Look at this. Looks like a little smudge right there, too. This is at the Gunflint Trail from Gunflint Lodge. We will be right back right after this break. Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. We have been chatting about the weather just a little bit, but let's talk about it a little bit more because it is a big weekend.
It is.
As we talk about a lot of hunters getting out there, and I guess you can't miss it.
No.
Bright orange.
Little break.
Right there. Where were you this morning?
I was in Oakdale at Fleet Farm. They had their Orange Friday going on, so it was pretty cool. So I showed up right around 6.
Oh, sorry. I have my lip glosses like all in your...
This is your work area here.
Oh my gosh. Embarrassed.
So I was out in Oakdale, and they have their Orange Friday, which is like one of their biggest days. Yeah. And I showed up at 6 a.m. and they opened up at 6, and the parking lot was almost completely filled. Wow. So they were giving away free hats. They had all these deals going on because it is like a holiday. I compare it to like opening fishing for myself. Like, you know, the deer gun opener is just, it's such a huge deal for so many people.
Yeah, people are probably excited. And also you get some time to spend with your family too.
I know, that's a really big thing too. So I haven't hunted personally, but I've sat out in the deer stand with my cousins a few years, and I'm like, I wanted to experience that with them. So, you know, go walk out to the deer stand, hang out for a couple hours, and come back and just joke around with everyone, and hang out and hang out for the day and just make it a fun experience. And I think a lot of people, that's kind of what it is.
That's what I'm hearing. It's a family affair in a sense. And some people have been doing it, since they they were, babies.
Yeah, exactly. So it was before you could maybe even hold a gun, you're out with a family member, and then once you could hunt, maybe you're joining in. So.
Okay, well, Jared, a lot of people looking at the weather when we talk about that.
A lot of folks might make that face of like, I don't want that, but a lot of deer hunters actually don't mind the cold and the snow.
That's what I'm hearing too.
So it's interesting because the deer, they're expending more calories when it's colder to keep themselves warm, so sometimes they'll be moving more, so you might end up seeing more throughout the day, maybe a better chance of getting one because they need to eat and they're searching that out. So there's that aspect too, and I think a lot of hunters, they're like me with fishing. You got enough gear, so like you're gonna be able to stay warm for the most part. Now, if you're sitting there not moving for 8 hours, no matter how much you have on, it's going to be cold. Yeah. But I think they'll be all right. And then if you have snow on the ground, if you get a deer, you can track easier.
So little footsteps.
Yes.
Jared, you mentioned it.
Yes,
Should we show it?
Yeah.
We have some video to show.
Yeah, so it has been snowing up north this morning.
Wow.
So this is from earlier up in northeastern Minnesota. Yeah, they saw a little bit. A lot of this is melting likely already, but it's that time of year. Of course, it's not unheard of. It's just we haven't seen a whole lot yet, so we're kind of like, whoa, snow already.
It's the excitement factor. It's like, oh my gosh, there's snow on the ground.
There is. So, and it's such a pretty shot here, and it's not going to stick around. The forecast looking ahead to next week, if you haven't looked at that, we're going to have another warm up. So we're going to have this cold snap, which is landing like right on this hunting weekend. Big one for a lot of people. And parts of southwestern Minnesota, parts of the Dakotas are going to pick up some snow here. So this is for tonight into tomorrow. So this little clipper is going to move across the Dakotas, bring some light snow across southwestern Minnesota, and it's just going to turn into just this cold, chilly weekend. So anyone that's just not hunting and just being outside too, plan accordingly. Sunday is going to be really windy, and that wind chill is going to play a factor. So that bright green or bluish 24, that's what it could feel like in the afternoon. The mornings will, of course, be even colder yet. So it's definitely going to feel winterish more so this weekend. It's going to be that first really big cold snap for us.
It's really going to be fun for me. Well, it's going to be fun. I'm being serious in that aspect, but I have to MC Girls on the Run. They're having their 5K Sunday morning, and I will be there at 7 o'clock. Jared, I'm going to be freezing.
Yeah, it is going to be really, really cold there. So the breeze is going to be like, I would, if you got the face mask, is it the balaclava? Where it's just this much of your face is showing. So I don't know if you need that, but just plan accordingly. You can I always tell people if you're not experiencing it, you can always take the gear off if you get hot.
Exactly.
But if you don't have it with, you can't just magically put
overdo it, and then you could just get rid of it.
So some folks are going to see some snow this weekend.
Tonight.
So southwestern Minnesota, kind of tonight, tomorrow morning. The Twin Cities, I wouldn't doubt if we saw a flurry or two out there, but like accumulating snow, I don't see that here. And then Sunday, maybe some light snows again, kind of like what we saw on the Gunflint Trail. That may occur again on Sunday in northern Minnesota.
Okay, but just some light snow.
Yes.
Okay.
So manageable. Just some folks are going to see it for the first time.
Okay.
Of the year.
Good. Thank you, Jared.
You got it.
Okay, so we've been talking about it. The firearms season starts this weekend for deer hunters in the state of Minnesota, and it's a rite of passage for nearly 500,000 hunters every fall. But whether you have been rocking this, bright blaze orange for years, or maybe this is your first time in a deer stand, there is some, of course, important information that you need to know, that you need to remember. So Amy Hockert spoke with the DNR. Let's take a look.
Wilbur is here with us, DNR's big game program. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Amy.
Okay, here we are. It is the firearm season finally for these deer hunters. What's the harvest look like this season?
So far, it's looking great, and I'm very optimistic for this upcoming weekend. If we look at harvest up to this point compared to last year, we're about 9% above where we were at last year, and looking at the 10-year average for the same time frame, we're about 10% above that. So I'm hopeful with the 2 mild winters that we've had. The deer population is doing pretty well, and hopefully we see another big bump in harvest this weekend.
Oh, yeah. The weather. What do we know about the weather?
Yeah, the weather's been unusually warm up to this point, and now we're getting really cold. So a cold opening firearms weekend is always good. Hunters get excited when the temperatures dip. Less so if there's precipitation involved. So I'm hoping at least the rain. Snow's okay, but the rain really keeps hunters inside. So I'm hoping the rain holds off.
And for those who aren't hunters, or they don't kind of follow what happens, this is really, I mean, it's a tradition for a lot of hunters to go out, but this is a big tool for the DNR, right?
Absolutely. Hunting is our number one management tool to control and maintain deer populations throughout the state.
Something like half a million hunters go out just for firearm season, between 4 and 5. Is that right?
Yeah, for firearms, it's a little over 400,000, and all hunters together with all season, we're talking about 500,000.
We have to always talk about safety when we talk about hunting, and I know it becomes white noise to people, especially those who've been going out, year after year. But let's walk through some of the things, reminders, and some of the things you always just want to stress to everybody.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when people kind of ignore the whole safety concern, but it is a concern and something I always like to stress. Wear blaze orange. It's a big one. People can accidentally get hurt. Blaze orange is a great way to avoid that, being seen in the field. But by far, I would say the biggest concern is not practicing just basic firearm safety. Most of the incidents that happen over deer hunting season occur because people are just not practicing those safe practices, like maintaining muzzle control, just pointing in a safe direction, things like that. That is the number one. People get complacent with those, so just focus on your basic safety.
Yeah, and speaking of that, for youth, let us know what they need, what people need to know about youth being out there hunting. I know there's a course that needs to be taken. I also know, because I brought my son this year, that it was really tough to get into that course. Tell us what we need to know there.
Yeah, so depending on the age of the hunter, they may or may not need to take a firearm safety course. The DNR offers those statewide. And a lot of those courses, the majority of those courses, are actually run by volunteers. So we really rely heavily on volunteers to take up and become an instructor. And it's pretty easy to become an instructor yourself. So I highly encourage folks, if you're interested, go to our website, and there's courses on how to become an instructor and then teach those courses.
Yeah. And how important is that, especially at that age, for them to just have a baseline knowledge?
Oh, I would say it's very important. I mean, we're handling firearms, so they can be very dangerous if not handled correctly. And just knowing the basics, and especially those in-person field days where students and young hunters get to actually handle firearms and practice that, which is, again, a really great reason that we keep those in-person classes going, which require those volunteer instructors.
There's kind of a running joke among deer hunters that it's not if you fall out of a tree stand, it's when you fall out of a tree stand, right? Tree stand injuries, and people may not realize that's a very serious problem.
Yes, I think it's one of the most common accidents that happen to hunters in the field is tree stand, falling out of the tree stand, just having accidents that way. So that's a great point. Safety harnesses are always a must when you're in a tree stand.
Can we talk about one more thing that I think you mentioned to me when we were talking about this earlier, that there's something that's kind of confusing people, especially maybe in the southern part of the state. What is the shotgun zone?
So the shotgun zone is essentially in the southern half of Minnesota, and the exact line is on our website. But in that zone, we have certain firearm restrictions where rifles aren't allowed to be used. But shotguns can be. So we call it the shotgun zone. There was a change in legislation this last session where the shotgun zone will be eliminated, but that's not happening until next year, so the 2026 season. So we're just reminding folks that this year the shotgun zone is still in place, but looking forward to next year, that change.
Okay, and then finally, we can't leave this conversation without talking about chronic wasting disease. Tell me what we need to know about that as we head into the firearm season here.
Sure. So any deer that's harvested in a CWD zone over opening weekend, so the 8th and 9th this year, need to get their deer tested, or those deer must be tested. We have a variety of ways hunters can test their deer. In those zones, we have staff stations. So DNR employees are working there. You pull up and we'll take a sample. We also have self-service stations. We have mail-in kits where hunters can get a kit sent to their house. They can take the sample themselves. It's pretty easy, especially after you do it once or twice. And we also have our local area wildlife offices, so staff there will be happy to take a sample. And also our partner sampling program. So these are taxidermists, meat processors, things like that, all across the state that you can go get your deer sampled. And all of these things are listed on our website. So I highly encourage those folks who want to get their deer tested or are required to check locations of all those options.
Okay, and if you get one in a zone and it needs to be tested, and let's say you have to do it through the mail, do you just kind of, as the hunter, do you continue on with, getting it processed or that kind of thing, or do you have to wait for results to come back? How does that work?
So if you're in a CWD zone, management zone, you cannot take that deer out of that zone until you get a negative test. So that's a big reminder. That's a part of our carcass movement restrictions. You can debone the meat and take it out. Essentially, you just can't take any part of the brain or the spine out of those zones until you get a negative test. There is no requirement. It's up to the hunter. If they want to get their deer processed without waiting for a test, that's up to them. Some meat processors require a negative test and some don't. So again, that's up to them. The CDC does recommend if a deer is positive that you don't eat the meat. But again, that's going to be hunter's choice.
Yeah. All right, Paul, thanks for all this information. Here's to a safe deer hunting season.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, Twin Cities Con is underway, and our Lauren Andrego is there live with a familiar face for 90s Nickelodeon fans. Yeah, we'll take it back just a little bit, but as we head to break here, let's talk about some more snow. Oh, producer Amber said it went away. We were going to show you some of the snow in Virginia, Minnesota. Oh, man. Well, at least you saw it just a couple minutes ago, but here's a look at the interstate. We'll be right back after this. Twin Cities Con just kicked off. Yeah, the time is now just minutes ago at the Minneapolis Convention Center. So the 3-day comic and pop culture convention, it just features a wide range of activities, the vendors and celebrity guests. And this year's lineup includes some actors and voice actors and also TV personalities. We are talking about people like Brendan Fraser, Rosario Dawson, and also Mark Summers, and our own Lauren and Draco, also live there. Could also be a celebrity, a Fox 9 celebrity. We could call her. Lauren, how's it going? It seems like there are quite a few people there already.
Yeah, Simone, the general admission doors just opened here at Comic-Con, and about 1,000 people were waiting in line for this 3-day convention here at the Convention Center. And there's all sorts of new stuff this year. So if you've been to a Comic-Con or Twin Cities Con before, there's something new for you this year. Cosplayers, video game competitions, board game competitions. There will be wrestling. There will be panels and discussions. You can meet some of your favorite voice actors, writers. You listed some of them, and I've got another one right here for you. His name is Kirk Fogg. He hosted Legends of the Hidden Temple, which you probably saw back on Nickelodeon in the 90s. It is so great to meet you, Kirk.
Thank you. As I used to say on the show, thank you. Nice to see you.
Wow, that's exactly how you said it, too. I want to know what you like about attending events like this and what people want to ask you about.
Well, I actually get more excited, I think, than the actual people who come to it, because, everybody said, I loved your show so much. And I said, do you understand? I said, this is what I loved when I was growing up. I loved stuff that I wanted to see. I wanted to see movie stars. I wanted to get autographs. And so I would geek out on this kind of stuff all the time. So that's what I get more excited than they do, I think.
Legends of the Hidden Temple stopped filming 30 years ago.
What?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? When you think back on that magnificent, magical era of television, doing game shows with kids, what do you miss the most about that time?
Well, first of all, our show was like, best way I can put it is, it was like a Raiders of the Lost Ark haunted house.
Yes,
exactly. And that was the kind of show that I wanted growing up, like to be frightened out of my wits and to have to go and be action and try to win something and do something. This was kind of my show. So I'm disappointed that I wasn't on the show. Oh, wait, I was on the show.
You were on the show,
oh my God, that's
for 2 years. And I watched it for years growing up. My sisters and I couldn't get enough of it.
You were a purple parrot.
I am today. I am a purple parrot today. I was watching clips of this show last night, and I'll jog your memory at home if you don't remember. There was like a haunted house obstacle course. There was listening comprehension skills. They had to go swim through a moat. This was a hard show for 10-year-olds. Can you kind of give us a glimpse behind the curtain? Because these kids looked real impressive.
Okay, first of all, each show took about 12 hours, we did 4 shows a day, so it took 12 hours to get it. So when everybody had to cross the moat, then you had to wait, and then you had to do all the steps of knowledge, then you had to wait, then you had to do the temple games, and by the end of the night, you had to do the obstacle course. So people go, why couldn't they put together the monkey? Why couldn't they I go, because they're in a 12-hour day.
Exhausted.
They're going through a temple. It's on the very back side of the temple, and they're exhausted. So.
Why do you think people are so nostalgic for that era of TV? There's really nothing on TV like it anymore. But what do you hear from people?
I think people want it again. That's what I think, because people really want to get down and do it. They want the hands-on experience, I don't think this year, I don't think they'd have to do it with their phone. I think they need to get in there and run through the temple and feel it for themselves.
Well, if you ever want to be a reboot and you need a co-host, give me a call. Or if you need someone.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That went straight to my ego. Kirk Fogg, he's going to be here all weekend. Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Simone, if you need a visual representation of what the contestants on Legends of the Hidden Temple looked like, this is what it looked like. Look at this amazing family here for a full weekend of Twin Cities Con. You're not the Purple Parrots. What are you, Cass?
Purple pygmy hippos.
Wow. Was this a Halloween costume? What led to this family effort?
We always do family costumes for Comic-Con. I let him pick the color, she picked the animal, and we all pitched in to make it. She designed this hippo right there.
That's amazing.
He did all the spray painting. He did our medallions. I kind of painted everything and put it together.
A huge family effort. Okay, well, besides meeting Kirk Fogg, you already checked that off the list. What else are you guys excited about? Anything in particular?
They also have the voice of Omek, the head from the show. So we're very looking forward to meeting D. Bradley Baker to do that. So that'll be amazing too. And also the cast of one of his favorite shows, Phineas and Ferb, and she watched it as a child too.
Yes.
So
and costumes tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, you guys have multiple costumes for the whole weekend.
Family. It's our family holiday.
Okay, say that again.
This is our family holiday. Comic-Con is.
Wow. Cass, family, so nice to meet you. You look fantastic. Those look like game authentic medallions. Thank you for your time. I'll let you go keep wandering the halls. Simone, this is crazy. There are thousands of people inside the convention center. Bring your wallet because you could get some real good Christmas shopping done here too. It's happening Friday through Sunday. Tickets still available. You can get a day pass for about $60 online.
Okay, and I love how they have made this a family affair, and I just love seeing the different costumes and outfits. It's very creative, pretty fun.
It is very creative. Yes, definitely. A lot of passionate people here today at the convention center.
Passionate is a good word for it. Well, it sounds like some fun there at the convention center. Thank you, Lauren. All right, some other fun things that we're going to talk about today. This one I'm really excited about. Elk River Fire Department is on fire on social media we're talking about. So part of the team will talk to them behind their viral videos. You have probably seen them on the internet, on social media. So we'll talk to them about all the fun stuff they do. We'll be right back. All right, well, if you are on Facebook, many of you I know are, have you seen the Elk River Fire Department's Facebook page or any social media? They have been going viral for just having some fun, jumping in on social media video trends. It has really been fun to watch. One of their videos actually has 1.5 million views, so I wanted to talk about that. So joining me now is a couple of the minds, we should say, behind the media. Amanda Plood, multimedia specialist for the city, and also Fire Chief Mark Dickinson. Thanks, guys, for joining us to talk about something fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's first talk about how you even got started. Who did someone have to be bribed? How did this work? So you haven't always made videos like this. What happened?
Yeah, you could say there was some bribing going on. But Amanda came to our city here in Elk River, and we started talking about how we want to kind of get out to the community and in a fun way and kind of show them and educate them at the same time. And Amanda ran with it. She's a genius.
Did it take, okay, so do we just have, you know, some of the firefighters involved in some of these videos, or are there other people a part of the city, a part of the team? How many people are involved in some of these, you know, social media projects, we could say?
For the fire department, I think all 4 chiefs have been part of it. Both had plenty of volunteer firefighters too come on their time off to volunteer to be in the videos.
Okay, and I think, Amber, if we want to show one of the really fun ones, this is the Jet 2 holiday. This has been a viral sensation, we should say. So let's play it so people can know what we're talking about.
Nothing beats the jet.
I just laugh at this every time because the first question I have, how many bloopers did it take to get to that one?
I just hit play and then was like, all right, we just need to jump 33 times.
Okay, just 33.
Yeah, I think we actually landed on like 38. I told them there wasn't too many extra, but the girl came when I told them about the video. It was fun. It's very fun for me to do this with them.
Yeah. How have people responded to these videos? I'm imagining they find it, you know, because it gives people a different perspective of you guys too, right? So how have people responded to this in the community?
We've had a great response from the community and from people outside the community, which has been kind of surprising. We've got a lot of followers that are coming from all over the place right now. So it's been a great response.
Any funny comments you want to mention? I'm sure there are some funny comments under those videos.
We get some requests for the bloopers, which I think is going to be coming. I know Amanda's been working on getting that put together. So
that was my burner account. That was me asking for those bloopers, by the way. I'm just kidding. Do we want to? What has there been a favorite video that you guys have made?
That was my favorite.
The Jet 2 holiday.
I think the most recent one with the 2 firefighters. It doesn't always have to be a 2-man job. But.
Okay, I think we have that one, so let's play it if we have it. Okay, Chief, why is that your favorite? I have to ask you.
Well, I think because I know those two, and they are really close working together. They make a great team, and so just to see them in that kind of light is perfect.
Any big ones you have coming up? Have you guys recorded any that you still need to post?
Yeah, we have plenty that we haven't posted yet. We're trying to spread it out a little bit.
Okay.
But I just showed them the bloopers to that last video yesterday.
Oh.
That was fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to record that was very difficult to keep a straight face for all of us.
My goal is to get the police department involved with us the next time now.
Oh, now you're gonna get the police department in on this. That one should be fun to watch too. I'm imagining some people, like some of your colleagues, may be a little more serious. You know what I mean? Like personality-wise, maybe it takes them a little while to warm up. Maybe they don't like the spotlight that much. Has it been interesting kind of seeing them, or have they kind of showed you a different side of them in a way?
Yeah, for sure. I was one of those people. So Amanda really had to twist my arm to even be involved with these, but and to be honest, it's created a great environment even around the office for all of us, because it's just kind of drop that guard down a little bit and let us loosen up. And it's a serious job that we do, and we work hard, we play hard, and that's when it comes time to go to a call, we get serious. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you just need to just let some of that stress and anxiety go.
Absolutely. You guys have a really stressful job, and of course we thank you for everything that you guys are doing. But it's really good to see people again in this light, and then it also helps you guys too to kind of loosen up a little bit and show people some personality. So we've enjoyed watching you guys. Can't wait to see what else is in that camera roll.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping an eye.
She's the mastermind behind all this. So.
Okay. It is all you, Amanda. We appreciate your creativity in putting these projects together because we love watching them, and especially in a time where things could feel really, really heavy at a lot of the times, and things like this on social media really help you just let loose and just breathe a little bit. So again, we appreciate it. Thanks for giving us all this good content, and thanks for your time here on Fox 9 All Day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too.
They're so cute.
All right, I know.
They're
Isn't
so
it cute? The Jet 2 holiday is still in my head.
It's iconic. It's iconic. And I think one of my favorite things recently is seeing public agencies jump on these trends and show that lighter, more fun side of them. Like you said, like, you know, the world is kind of crap right now. People are stressed.
It's heavy.
And so I think to see people like the fire department, libraries have been another one that I've been loving recently. Libraries are so freaking funny.
And can we just talk about how I love how, like, not that libraries went anywhere, but that they're like coming back in a cool way.
Yes, libraries are cool now.
Yes.
I don't even know why I did quotes. It's not quotes. They are cool. They're really cool. I love a library. So I just think that this is like the most fun thing, and I commend everybody for getting on board. You know, you gotta reach the people where they're at and where they need you, right?
And they're right there on their phone, so you might as well reach them right there.
Yeah.
Good one.
Okay, Simone, we've just got a couple minutes left in this hour. I'm going to wrap us up. We've got our next guest in the waiting room here, so I'm going to send us to a break on a bit of zen. Have you been to the Treetop Park in the Mississippi River Gateway Trail?
No, not yet, but you can take me here.
It's beautiful.
Now,
We're going to take you there now.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, back in a couple.
welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. We are just about hitting the top of the hour here at 1 o'clock on this Friday. And you had to be living under a rock if you don't know about what's going on with the FAA and the airlines. There is a lot going on through this government shutdown. So this is our top story today, of course, as we head into this weekend and as we are in day 38 of the government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. So the FAA has ordered, this was a really big story yesterday. The FAA ordered airlines to cut flights at more than 40 airports, and this is including at MSP International Airport, here at home. This is now in effect. And according to FlightAware, we have been keeping an eye on this just to see if anything has changed. We've really been looking at this, honestly, since yesterday. But nearly 850 at last check domestic flights have been canceled today. That's coast to coast. Amber telling me now 36 at MSP. So yesterday, it was kind of a bit of a scramble. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. They scrambled to adjust some of their schedules. These airlines, you talk about Delta, American, Southwest, you have all of these people wanting to travel, and now they have to make these adjustments. So not just for today, but this is into next week as cancellations ramp up. And then we still don't know when this government shutdown is going to end. So just trying to plan accordingly here. And at the root of all this, again, the government shutdown, these essential workers like the air traffic controllers. We're also talking about the TSA agents as well, going without pay for now a month. So they have literally received their paychecks with $0 on it. So as you can imagine, many of those workers say, you know, I'm just not going to come to work. Many of them have been calling out sick, leaving the airports because they're just short-staffed, and these concerns are really just climbing here. So we wanted to get some more just perspective on this in the aviation world for those in the industry. And we had a chance to talk to Wiz, if you were joining us at the top of the noon hour, a former pilot as well. He really dove into, you know, some of what we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks or so. And we also wanted to invite a woman named Michaela Renee Johnson. She has a really interesting perspective as well. Because Michaela, thank you so much for joining us. I just wanted to mention your title here because you are a commercial pilot and also a licensed psychotherapist, which is a really interesting perspective. How have you been doing during this time? And I'm imagining you have talked to a lot of people also in the industry. What have they been saying?
You know, I think that's the hardest part, is hearing from my colleagues that are being affected by this every day. And we've certainly been making decisions on individual basis as well, in terms of, do I actually want to fly in airspace where I would have to, you know, require air traffic control services, or do I just want to stay grounded just to kind of alleviate the pressure on the system? So I think what's really been incredible to see is how the aviation community certainly rallies in these kinds of circumstances and situations and really comes together to support one another. And that is something that has been consistent in aviation since the dawn of aviation, really.
Yeah, and I kind of want to break it up a little bit because we're talking about so many people involved here. We could be talking about air traffic controllers. We're talking about pilots. We also have now the ripple effect, right, where you're seeing passengers having to adjust. So if we sit in the air traffic controller realm for a second, they are leaving, some of them not showing up to work, some of them saying, hey, I don't even have the gas to make it to my job. I can't even plan accordingly for my child because daycare is too expensive and I'm not getting paid right now and you're still expecting me to come to work. Is this something that you would have predicted as someone in this world as well?
Well, you know, I can honestly say I think it takes a very strong individual to continue to show up, especially when you're in a stressful work environment without knowing when you're going to receive your next paycheck. And the sad, unfortunate truth of a lot of people in this economy is that they are living on some level of paycheck to paycheck. You know, a lot of people have had to tap into any kind of savings or reserve that they've had. And when you're talking about 38 days, you're talking an entire pay cycle, maybe two at this point. I've heard some air traffic controllers are paid bi-monthly, some are paid monthly, but at the end of the day, we're talking a whole month of mortgage, a whole month of, you know, whatever. And it's certainly not inexpensive, especially in states like New York and California. And they were already understaffed, about 25% from the latest reports that I had seen. They were already kind of having to work overtime and do all these things to really keep the airspace safe for the rest of us that want to be able to travel to see family and things like that. So they were already crunched. There was already a lot of pressure on them. And I think when you add this, you can get by a week or two. You start counting a month and beyond, it starts to kind of change the dynamic, and certainly the mental health and the attitude as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment, because we had a chance to chat a couple of hours ago and just talking about the mental health access to some of these people in the FAA world. What does it look like for them mentally, just on a normal day, right? But then when you add all of this strain, how does that look, and do they have the access to get help for what's going on right now?
Unfortunately, the aviation industry has been designed, and fortunately, in a way where there's very strict rules and regulations regarding mental health of pilots and air traffic controllers. Frankly, anybody who's working on anything, even mechanics, are, kind of exposed to this side of it. And so in order to even be in one of these careers, you have to undergo rigorous, mental and medical exams. And unfortunately, the current state of the mental health system is not very accessible to pilots and to air traffic controllers. And this is something that there are, many nonprofit organizations like Pilot Mental Health Committee is working on going to Congress and getting things changed so that there is better accessibility for people who are in aviation that need mental health, especially something simple like going through a divorce or, the death of a parent, something like that. And it is definitely being looked at. I think that the pages have kind of been ripped out, and people are finally putting some eyes on this, because it definitely doesn't benefit anybody if they're not able to access mental health openly. But I know in the industry, a lot of people are very, very afraid to reach out for the help that they need, for fear that they will lose their job or be grounded.
It's really sad to hear, and it could go either way, right? And you hate to think that way, but people do need to understand that there are people a part of these plans. You did, though, do some research on NTSB compliance, right? What did you find out through some of the searches that you've done?
In terms of aviation safety, what the Transportation Board had put out is that they're doing a titrated up system where they're going to go 4%, 6%, 10%. And when we look at why they're doing that, it's really to put a speed bump in the road. It's just to say, let's alleviate some of the takeoffs and landings, which is the most critical time of flight, and reduce the overall stress on the air traffic controllers while these aircraft are in flight. And then that, of course, trickles down. And really what you're looking at is the carrier side of the service. So this has not, at least of my research, affected general aviation at this time. But that's not to say that air traffic control isn't also helping general aviators. So when we're talking about a shutdown like this, or a reduction in flights, we're talking about specifically carrier transport, so the airlines. And so that there's still a lot of other people flying in the skies that are affecting this, including drones. And one of the most beautiful things that I've seen from social media is a lot of the aviators are kind of rallying together, saying like, hey, don't fly that drone right now if you can avoid it. I recently had my own really special aviation experience where I opted to fly, we call it under the radar, I guess, without air traffic control services, through military airspace that has a TFR at certain altitudes, which is a flight restricted area, as well as 2 very busy general aviation airports that have flight training. And what I found was actually really beautiful. I stayed off of air traffic control, but all of the pilots that were flying were communicating very well, kind of navigating the airspace on their own, saying, hey, I'm transitioning 1,100 through this airspace. A lot of cooperation going on behind the scenes, because I think everybody on some level wants to make sure that we're all safe and that we're doing our part to help alleviate the burden.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure out, how to pick up the pieces, right? What to do next. And people have been reaching out to you, right? And I know when we talked, you talked about how even if they didn't reach out to someone, maybe a loved one, they have posted things, right? Maybe some stress-like posts. What are those looking like on the internet for them?
Truly, I think Pilot Mental Health Committee is the best one I'm seeing, and it's not just for pilots, it is for everyone in aviation, but they have specifically posted following the UPS incident a couple of days ago, how people can reach out to receive services that are non-reportable to the FAA, which I think is an important distinction right now. Because, you know, even if you were not directly affected, as in you were not maybe on the ground in Louisville, you probably still know somebody who was, or you've flown into that airport and, you know, met these individuals yourself. So I think that, you know, when we're looking at the fall down or the trickle domino effect of this, it affects everybody on a fundamental level when we're constantly seeing what's playing out. I mean, the psychology of it is there's been enough cortisol spikes in the aviation world that everybody's a little bit more guarded than they would probably normally be. I know for myself, I have to fly airliner at the end of the month, and for the first time ever, I am a little bit nervous myself, just kind of knowing what truly everybody is under pressure-wise psychologically. And I know that the people that are working in these fields are incredibly skilled, but I also know the human psychology of stress.
Yeah.
So.
Anything we could say to each other? Because when we talk about stress, and if you say you're a little concerned and you have stress from a psychotherapist, like, oh, help us out. What can we say to each other?
You know, what I really come back to is that we're not guaranteed the next day.
Yeah.
And, you know, to quote Snoopy, we live a little every day. We only die once. So make the most of what you've got right now, and really reach out to your loved ones. You know, if you've been putting off that phone call, I think there's no better time than the now when we're kind of faced with these situations. And by that, I mean, maybe you haven't talked to someone in a while, and maybe that text message or that phone call is exactly what they need to help them get through the day. Because we're all struggling in some way, I think, right now. So I like to go to a very basic human place and say, you know, let's just be connected and let others know that we're here, and be grateful for what we do have in terms of opportunity to experience the world.
Amen. Michaela, you're preaching on a Friday. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much, and stay safe. We appreciate your time and your perspective. Okay, so all of this again, let's get to it, tied to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. We are now at day 38, and today, hopefully today's the day, maybe the decision day for more moderate Senate Democrats. So there is a vote that is planned for today, but right now, there is no time set just yet. So the Senate just reconvened a couple of hours or so ago, and I believe we have that. So let's listen into some of this debate right now.
From Wisconsin and Michigan are striving to find a path to make sure that folks are paid. Folks who are working should be paid. Folks who are furloughed should be paid. But here is the problem with the proposal from my colleague from Wisconsin. And that is, we have a president right now that is violating the Constitution. Every time you hear the President of the United States say, hey, I'm ending that program because it's not in alignment with my priorities, or cabinet member who says, we're going to kill those grants because they're not in alignment with the president's priorities, what you are hearing is an authoritarian statement in violation of the Constitution. So in recognition, we have an out-of-control tyrant in the Oval Office violating the Constitution. We have a responsibility right here to defend the Constitution. And that's exactly why my colleague from Michigan put those protections into the bill. If you have a president who chooses what programs are funded and not, that is an authoritarian country, and that's what we have right now. The whole vision of our nation was founded on these senators and these House members coming from different districts and different states with different life experiences and different geographic interests, and bringing them to forge a consensus or forge a vision of how to address the challenges in every part of our nation. Not to have one person down Pennsylvania Avenue who knows a little bit about New York and a little bit about Florida, has a certain one point of view, be a tyrant. Martial law would be empowered by the proposal from Wisconsin. And that's why my colleague from Michigan was absolutely right to ensure we here in the Senate defend the Constitution. Thank you.
All right, you were just listening in. As expected, we're still waiting for this government shutdown to be over. We're trying to get over the hump here as we are now in day 38 of the government shutdown, the Senate reconvening. So, of course, we will keep our eyes on that and let you know what happens, of course, every step of the way. In the meantime, though, I think we are going to talk to meteorologist Jared Piepenberg about some of the weather this weekend. You have your orange hat ready as people get ready for hunting. And you were at Fleet Farm early this morning.
I was. I don't hunt.
Yeah.
I haven't hunted in a long time. I used to hunt ducks when I was younger. But this weekend is so big for so many. It's like my opening fishing. It's their opening deer hunting. So it's pretty exciting. And this weekend there's a big change in the weather. So I think a lot of folks are kind of looking at that. So this morning we were talking with Fleet Farm. They had their Orange Friday deals going on. But he was like, a lot of people buying hand warmers, the little propane cylinders, because they got they're called buddy heaters, which a lot of ice fishermen know that they just sit in the house and it's just like it just uses a little propane and warms you up. So I think folks will probably have those with too, and and maybe get an extra set of gloves or whatnot. But it's going to turn cold.
I was going to say, we're kind of going to need them, right? It's going to be chilly.
I think anyone, just if you're like, oh man, I'm going to be stuck in the house all weekend with the kids, it's like I wanted to go outside.
It's gloomy right now.
The temperature's kind of warmed up to some lower 40s, and they're really not going to move here over the next few hours. They're not going to like, oh, we're going to keep going up. No, they should just be kind of what they're at right now. And this is just the start of this cold that's moving in. Our coldest days will be Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
But it's a short-lived cold snap, so we're going to get right back to warming up as we head into next week. But you can see the 7-day forecast there. There's our cold day. Tomorrow, Sunday into Monday, and then right back up close to 50, which will be above average. Today, pretty seasonable for us with those 40s. Had a little bit of light rain this morning, some sprinkles, and then tomorrow we may see a few flurries here and there. Best shot will be southwestern Minnesota. You can see this snow potential. There's going to be a clipper system moving through the Dakotas. It clips part of southwestern Minnesota, but other areas, the atmosphere, you just might be outside, like, is that a couple raindrops, but also a couple flurries?
Oh.
That might even be the case in the metro. I don't think we'll have the measurable snowfall here. That seems to be down in the southwest. And then on Sunday, if we were going to extend this out, it looks like maybe northern and northeastern Minnesota, again, may just have a couple light snow showers or like flurries. But for the most part, it's just going to be a cold weekend coming up here. And it'll just be kind of a slap in the face just because it's been so warm for so long. I mean, we've had above average temperatures almost every single day, like
I was going to say,
for a long time.
We've been a little spoiled.
I was just going to use that same word,
especially the first half of this week. We were in the 50s. It was feeling good. I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice for November.
You said you have the event Sunday morning.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be a chilly one.
It is. That is probably going to be one of the coldest mornings because the breeze is going to pick up. It'll turn pretty gusty out there. So, 23 in the morning, and you factor in a breeze, it might feel like 11 degrees out there. So plan accordingly. It'll be, it's if we're talking this in late December and January, it'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, like,
feels like 11.
Yeah.
That's nothing. But this will be our first big cold snap for us, so it'll be an eye opener for folks. And then there's going to be so many people outside. I was saying earlier about an hour ago, one thing about hunters and fishermen, normally we just have we have a ton of gear.
Yeah.
So they'll probably be dressed warm, and you can always take it off. But if you don't bring it out to the deer stand, you can't just magically make it appear there. Yeah.
It's always that first cold that gets you the worst because it hits the skin differently. You're like, oh, I'm not used to it just yet. So you might want to get prepared. If you don't have that heavy jacket out, we'll need it.
Yeah, I would say so for sure this weekend.
All right, thanks, Jared.
You got it.
Okay, something new that we want to talk about, Minneapolis, red light cameras. Yeah, citations start today. If you don't want to have to pay, you might want to watch this interview coming up next. We'll speak with a program leader. Joining us next on Fox 9 All Day.
home floors.
Well, it has been just over a month since Minneapolis started using traffic safety cameras at certain intersections. And now we are getting our first look at some of the data, as today is actually the first day that those citations could be issued. So we wanted to bring someone in to talk about this. Ethan Foley, Vision Zero Program Coordinator for the City of Minneapolis. Ethan, thank you for your time. A lot to talk about when talking about some of these cameras here. So the goal, of course, is for safer streets, right? We want people to be really careful. We want to essentially save lives. And based on the first few weeks of this program, what are you seeing? And this was just like a test kind of program, right? Kind of before.
Yeah, so overall, we're at the start of a 4-year pilot of traffic safety cameras in Minneapolis, and we're starting with just the 5 initial speed safety camera locations. And so far, we've just been issuing warnings for the first month and a week now. And from that, we've seen a 30% reduction in people going 10 or more miles an hour over the speed limit at the camera locations. And then even a bigger reduction, about 76% in folks going 20 or more miles an hour over the speed limit, which those are really important things as we try to reduce that unsafe speeding to improve safety for everyone. And we would expect now as we move into citations, right, we're going to see those numbers go down even further. In other communities, we can see that get down to a decrease of up to 98% of that higher speeding. So that's our goal here. Can we get to that coming up with the citations being issued and make it safe for everyone?
Yeah, when you talk about issuing some of these warnings that have already been issued, who's reviewing some of this footage, I should say, and then how is it sent out?
Yeah, so the warnings and citations are all reviewed and confirmed by trained City of Minneapolis traffic control agents, and they're verifying, yes, there was a violation, yes, everything matches up, and we can issue then the warning or citation. And that's really important to make sure that everybody has the confidence in the program. We did, I'll just note, those staff did dismiss a few potential warnings based on their reviewing the information. But overall, most of them are issued because they're found to be correct violations.
You think you talk about how some of this data is collected. What are we comparing these numbers to when you guys just kind of put the numbers together here?
Sure. So our contractor collected a week's of baseline data before the program started. And that allows us to have a comparable here as we go forward. And so we'll be using that as kind of our baseline comparison. And then any future locations that we add, we will always have a baseline before we actually go out with signs and cameras at a particular location.
And can you remind us where some of these areas are and where these cameras are? Were these high concern areas? How did this come about in the first place to be put in these particular areas?
Yeah, so our overall goal here, right, is to make sure that we're improving traffic safety. So these are locations with injury crash history, and they're also within a few blocks of a school. And we at locations where we've had speeding challenges. And so those things coming together along with community feedback that we've heard helped us narrow to these initial sites. We have 5 initial locations, 1 downtown, 1 on North Side, 1 in Northeast, 1 in kind of near part of South Minneapolis, and 1 farther South Minneapolis. So making sure we're spreading around the city.
So today is the first actual day where some of those citations will be issued. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process and how, I guess, the cameras are capturing them? So if I'm a driver right now, you mentioned one particular, just for example, on the North Side, right, in whatever area that is specifically for the intersection. If I'm a driver and I'm going, say, 10 miles an hour, because it clocks you at 10 over, what can I expect from that?
Yeah, so it isn't just like you got a little lost and you're going a mile or 2 over the speed limit, right? It's like you're going 10 or more over the speed limit at one of the camera locations, and all those camera locations are signs. So they all, they have 2 series of signs saying, there's camera enforcement here and a reminder of the speed limit, so people have that information and hopefully are just slowing down right from that. The decreases we've seen so far are primarily just people seeing that signage, right? And And then if you are going 10 or more over the speed limit, then the camera is taking a couple pictures of your, including of your back license plate, and then a little video, short video of you kind of traveling through the zone. And then that's what's reviewed. And then ultimately from that, if it's your first violation, it's a warning is sent to the owner of the vehicle. And if it's a subsequent violation, then you will receive a citation. And you'll be able to see that picture of your vehicle there, as well as go online and see the short video clip if you're interested as well. And you'll have all the information on the date and time and the location that it happened. And that way, if you can be like, oh yeah, that was me, or oh, I had loaned my car to somebody else. And if you receive a citation and you weren't driving at the time, you can provide a sworn statement that you weren't driving, and then the citation would be dismissed. And so and there are other things that you can do, a couple other instances where you'd be eligible for dismissal. Yeah, you can handle that stuff online as well. So.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions too. Is say for instance someone has your car, and then they're the person that's actually driving your vehicle, and then you receive the ticket, because these cameras aren't actually catching, well, not supposed to, right? Actually catching the driver of the vehicle, just more so the plate.
Yeah, definitely. So we're not allowed under state law to record anything in a way that makes somebody personally identifiable. Okay. And so you'll if you get a video, you'll see that like the sidewalks even are blurred out just in case someone's walking or crossing the street over there. And so we are really mindful of protecting privacy with this. And then you just provide that sworn statement if you weren't driving. But, I've had a couple people reach out, oh, I either, I sold my car and the transfer is still in process. And so you would be able to share that online, and then it would be dismissed. Also had somebody reach out, oh, my daughter was driving my car and what happens? And I said, well, if this was a citation, you could say I wasn't driving and it would be dismissed. But it might be an opportunity for a conversation with your daughter, and the person replied back, yes, I talked with my daughter, and I think we, as the father of a future driver, right, like I think those are the conversations parents want to be able to have with their kids if they're doing something like unsafe speeding.
Is that kind of the comments that you have received after launching this the first time with citations? I was curious about what people were saying, like what was the response like from some of the people in the community who have gotten those citations and have been on that end of it? Is it more so that, which is just like, I wasn't the one driving?
I mean, I've only received a few messages off of the warnings, okay. And most of those are just like practical things, just with a couple questions. Okay. I haven't had anybody mad about it at all yet, and I think overall that sort of reflects the feedback we've been hearing over as we get closer to launching this program, which has been this year overwhelmingly positive. More than 80% of people who have reached out to us this year have expressed support for the program. And that said, we know that there are some people who maybe have concerns. And I think a lot of it is as people see the details and how we are working to make sure we're implementing the program fairly, equitably, we're protecting privacy. All those things are really important to having this program be done well. And I think people see the efforts we're taking to do that. And that's our goal going forward, is people continue to see that, as now that we're issuing citations as well, that people understand that it is fair.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's going in the direction that you guys would like to see, especially when you start to really look at the numbers and start crunching them to see, we're essentially, as you mentioned, Vision Zero, right? Saving those lives and getting the streets just a little bit safer. So Ethan, we appreciate your time this afternoon, and take care. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. You as well. Be safe out there.
You too. Thank you. Well, coming up next, a new court order telling the Trump administration to pay up and to fully fund SNAP. You might remember we've been talking about the partially funding. So now we're talking about a judge saying that the Trump administration should fully fund SNAP. But before that money gets there, rural areas are feeling the pinch very hard. So we'll check in with our Corin Hoggard. He is following that story today. He was out and about early this morning. But as we head to break right now, let's get a little moment of zen. It is Friday. We want to feel good on a Friday. So this is video from photojournalist Greg Kellogg this morning in Matamidi. Beautiful fall colors there. right, we have been talking about the government shutdown over and over again because it is an incredibly huge story impacting so many people here. So a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP benefits in November. This has been a big conversation too when we talk about people who depend and rely on SNAP. So all of this comes after the administration agreed to partially fund the program by using those contingency funds. And so now, here's where we stand. The Rhode Island judge, as of yesterday, ordered this administration to find the money to fully fund SNAP benefits for November. And the Trump administration did respond to this. They quickly responded to this and they appealed it. But we know that no arguments were brought forward just yet. But again, of course, we will continue to watch that and see what happens there. The ruling, though, did give the administration until today to make those payments through the SNAP program. But it's unlikely that people will see that money, on their cards. But we know so many people impacted here. We're talking about 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP, and many people here, of course, in the state of Minnesota. So I did want to mention this quickly. The judge did say, and I'll quote him here, the defendants failed to consider the practical consequences associated with this decision to only partially fund SNAP. They knew that there would be a long delay in paying partial SNAP payments and failed to consider the harms that individuals who rely on those benefits would suffer. So of course we wanted to take a closer look at this, especially in rural communities. So rural grocers taking the hardest hit here as we talk about SNAP benefits and then being delayed and also reduced. So Corin Hoggart is joining me now to discuss this. And Corin, you're just coming back. You're in the car. We see you there. You're just coming back from Blue Earth, where you actually visited a rural southern Minnesota grocer. What happened there? What did they have to say just about all of what's going on right now?
Yes, Simone, we just left Juba's in Blue Earth. It is the one and only grocery store in that town of about 3,100 folks. And, it's in Faribault County. About 10% of the residents of Faribault County use SNAP benefits. It's not uncommon for it to be used widely in rural Minnesota. In fact, about 45% of Minnesota's SNAP recipients are outside of the Twin Cities metro. So this is, 10% of the grocery shopping that's done in Faribault County is through SNAP funding. And so, Juba's is taking a pretty hard hit. He said that, grocery stores, especially small ones like his, had been suffering for years and just kind of losing a little bit. And I know, having worked in the grocery industry, it is not one with a high margin. So his profits that were already in the, 1% to 2% range, if he was having a good year, are down there just barely above zero. And now, somewhere between 5 and 10% of his regular customers cannot spend any money because they don't have SNAP benefits. He said he hasn't really talked to any of them because they just haven't been coming to the store.
Wow. And that in itself, tells you all you need to know too, right? Did he talk about maybe them feeling forgotten in a sense though? Because I feel like when we talk about SNAP benefits and some of these effects of the government shutdown, we hear about the cities, right? The Twin Cities in our world here. But like for those in the rural communities, do they feel forgotten in a sense?
I think that they're feeling the same kind of pressure that everybody is. I talked to some grocers in the metro last week, and they were very concerned that this might happen. It would hit their bottom line pretty hard as well. But, this is something especially important in rural communities, I think, because the fact of the matter is, if you ask the folks from the Minnesota Children, Youth, and Families Department that administers SNAP benefits here in Minnesota, am I breaking up there?
Yeah,
we are in rural Minnesota, so the economic impact is huge. What happens is, the every dollar that's spent from SNAP funding here in rural Minnesota at the grocery creates about $1.50 to $1.75 of economic activity, because that means that Jubas can hire employees who get paid a salary. They go out and they spend money elsewhere. It also brings people into town who may go to one of the stores nearby. And so there is this kind of snowball effect of it creating economic activity. And without the SNAP benefits, it's shrinking all of that.
What did it look like when you, and I know this will be your story later on today, but when you went inside of Juba's, what did it look like? Were there, some people inside? What about also the employees too as well?
They are running the same number of checkers that they usually do during the day on a weekday, which was 2 checkers. They had customers who were making their way about, to be honest, noon on a Friday is not the busy time for a grocery store.
Yeah, you are hitting it at a hard time.
Having been in the business for 6 years, Saturdays and especially Sundays are busy, and Monday nights for folks who forgot to go out and do their shopping during the weekend. But there were customers there. He said that there would probably be more if SNAP benefits had gone up.
Yeah. Did he have any messages though, maybe for the administration for what's going on right now?
Yeah, I think he's apolitical, like a lot of the people I've been talking to about the shutdown recently. He wants it to be over, but he's not placing blame or saying that anybody in particular should be, giving up their side of the negotiation. He just wants the negotiation to be done.
Yeah, and I'm imagining Oh, go ahead, Corey.
Let me point out, Thanksgiving was the biggest time of year for the grocery store I work at and for many of them. And so I think they're very much getting worried about that right now. Another thing to consider is he had to order all the turkeys for Thanksgiving back in February. So he did it thinking everything would be normal. And now if people don't have SNAP benefits and 10% of his turkeys can't go out the door, he's going to take a big hit.
Oh, wow. Did he really go into depth with what that will look like for him? Because I guess, some of us probably didn't think about it too. Thanksgiving approaching, I feel like very quickly, but there's so much going on that we almost forget that it's right around the corner. Did he really go into depth of if this doesn't happen, if we're still in potentially a shutdown at this point, because we have been talking, of course, with people in the FAA industry and the aviation industry about what it looks like for some of the passengers when we get closer to Thanksgiving. But for the grocery stores, that's almost like some things that may be forgotten about.
Yeah, I always used to say that Thanksgiving is our Christmas when we worked in the grocery business. He did say that may be a situation where he has to reduce labor, whether that means taking hours from employees or cutting employees. And, this isn't a big business here. It's 1,300 customers coming in every week, but it's a business that's been out there in Blue Earth and in some other cities previously, but now just in Blue Earth since 1971. It's a long time small grocery store. Grocery stores like that exist all across this state. Even we have centers in Northeast Minneapolis that I love to go to, but they are taking this pretty hard.
Yeah, and so many people, even though it's a small knit community, so many people still utilize a lot of those spaces. Corin, what time is your story airing tonight?
I believe it's at 5 and 6.
Okay, 5 and 6. The latest on the shutdown and how it's affecting people in rural communities at the grocery store. Thanks, Corin. All right, coming up next, this is a big talker as we are approaching 50 years since the Edmund Fitzgerald sank. An iconic landmark. They will be honoring them on the anniversary. So we'll talk about that. We have an interview coming up, and also it is a big sports weekend. A lot going on. The Loons, the Vikings, the Timberwolves. Pierre will join us coming up next. Well, Monday marks the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And this Monday at 4 o'clock, the Split Rock Lighthouse will host a memorial beacon lighting, and they will name the 29 crew members. All of those will be read, followed by a ring of the ship's bell. So this should be very emotional. The lighthouse has done this for the past 40 years, but there is some extra interest this year because it is the 50th anniversary, and tickets, get this, have already been sold out. So joining us now is Hayes Scriven, the site manager at the Split Rock Lighthouse. Thank you so much for joining us, Hayes. It seems like a lot of people, of course, interested in this. A record number of people expected to attend Monday, so much so that you had to cap the tickets right at 2,000.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a lot of interest with the event being the 50th, and for like a safety perspective and just like putting on the program like level, we knew we had to cap the attendance at some level, and we figured last year we had 1,700 people at the site, and that was workable, and so we're like, let's put it at 2,000, and we should be good with that.
Can you tell us a little bit about what can people expect on Monday if they're going? But there's also an opportunity too, if you're not going, you can watch this on a live stream too, right?
Yeah, so on Monday what we're doing is we're encouraging everybody to arrive as early as they can. All day we have special tours that are all geared around the Fitzgerald. They're guided tours around the site that talks about its last journey across the lake. We also have a special movie that we run within that talks about the Fitzgerald, its story, its building, and the fame behind it. And then we've got like some food stuff here. So if you're here all day, you can take that in, and then you've got the state park around us that you can hike in to take some time. But we got plenty to fill your day. And then at 4 o'clock is when we actually start the ceremony itself. And so we get everybody out on site, and then we go up and we do a little bit of introduction, and then we go through the muster of the last watch, where we have the Navy hymn being sung with a quartet group out of Duluth. And then we go through and read the names of the crew members, and then ringing a ship's bell with it. And then at the end, we turn on Split Rock's beacon to help commemorate and cap off the night.
Yeah, and the lighthouse is often associated with the Edmund Fitzgerald, but the lighthouse was not operational in 1975. So what is the connection here between the lighthouse and the ship's sinking?
Yeah, we know some of the crew and their families lived up along the North Shore and down the South Shore into Wisconsin and Michigan. And the ship itself on November 9th, it passed by Split Rock. It wasn't an active station at the time, but it did pass by. And so we know there's a deep connection here. And for any of us that have spent time on Lake Superior, there's kind of this community around it. And so when something happens on the lake or near it, if it happened over in Michigan, we still feel it here. And that was the case back in 1975 as well. So that's why we're associated with it so much. And I think just the track record that we've had with the ceremony and what it means for everybody has just kind of really built that up even more.
Were you guys surprised at all about the interest in this, 50 years later?
Yeah, everybody gives Gordon Lightfoot a lot of credit for the shipwreck having the fame that it does and the staying power still 50 years later. We've been talking about the 50th anniversary, honestly, for the last, year and a half, 2 years, knowing that it was going to be a big event because we've seen the attendance like trick up every year. And we're prepared for it, and we just think that it's really it's a emotional thing and very powerful to see that all these people still have this connection to the wreck and to the lake and the lighthouse, and we're just happy to play a small part within it.
Yeah, have you guys been planning? I know you mentioned a year and a half. Have you guys been planning that long for this 50th, or what has the planning process looked like to get to Monday?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for at least a year and a half, if not a little bit longer. Just trying to figure out, better ways we can help move people around. We know that in the past the parking has always been, hard for people that get here late or even early, and it fills up because when when we have 1,500, 1,700 people here on a normal year, parking is a problem, and people end up walking a long distance. So one of the things that we're introducing this year is we're trying out parking shuttles within the state park itself, so people don't have to walk as far. And then we're also introducing off-site parking because we knew we would have more interest this year, and we have to help accommodate the people that are just going into the state park to watch it. We're introducing off-site parking as well to help kind of spread the parking out and get people in. And if you sit on a shuttle for an extra 15 minutes, it's still better than sitting in traffic for 35 minutes trying to get out.
That's
and
very
it's safer.
true. Now you're speaking our traffic language here. One of the last questions I have for you. You are, I hear, the keeper of the lighthouse. What does that look like? What kind of jobs do you do with that title?
Well, the fun answer that I give everybody is I wrestle bears every single day. Like that's what I do. But in reality, my job is I'm an administrator. So I sit at my desk a lot. I do a lot of boring Excel spreadsheets and paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But also, like, my job at Split Rock is, so I oversee all of the day-to-day management of the site, of the museum that we're running here. And so if I have to go clean bathrooms, I go do it. If I go out and help a guest have any questions, if I have to hop in and give a tour, I'll go do it. If I have to work up front behind the cash register, I'll do it. If I have to help with maintenance of the lawn or any kind of stuff, I do it. So I kind of do a jack of all trades with it. But it's an absolute amazing job that I have, and keeps me on my toes all the time, especially for days like November 10th.
Hayes, I love and appreciate everything you do, but I will say I love the bear story more.
I do too. That's why I love leading it with that. So.
Just saying. Well, thank you for all that you do, all the jobs that come with everything. We appreciate your time, and hopefully it'll be a wonderful event on Monday.
Yep. Thanks for having me on. This has been great.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. All right. Speaking of weekends, it is a big weekend for sports. Amber, do we have Pierre? Yes. Okay, we're working on it. Well, in the meantime, it is a big weekend. You know why? Because the Vikings play on Sunday. Okay, Pierre's here. The Vikings play on Sunday. This should be a big one because they're playing another purple team. We're talking about the Ravens here. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Loons. And then we have the Timberwolves. And then we have Pierre, who is riding shotgun right now. This is a big day for the Loons. This is like a do-or-die game, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon they're going to be back at Allianz Field for a do-or-die in Game 3 of their series against Seattle. The winner moves on. The loser goes home. Definitely a high-pressure situation for Minnesota considering how they performed in Game 2 as well. So they're going to have to rectify things in a hurry here because it's a short week for them to get back to action. Kickoff is scheduled for tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Simone.
Okay. How are they feeling? Do you know? Have you had a chance to speak to the coach or any players?
Yep.
What's the vibe?
We had a chance to speak with Eric Ramsey today. You'll hear more of that conversation coming up tonight on Fox 9 at 5 o'clock. But we spoke with him today, and he seemed about as cool as a cucumber, if we're being completely honest. Like I said, it's a high-pressure situation, but this team knows that they have had success against Seattle so far this season. Before Game 2, they had defeated Seattle in all previous 3 matchups. So even though things did not go their way on Monday, and it seems in a way catastrophic because it's the most recent game of what we've seen, allowing 4 goals is something uncharacteristic from this club. That's definitely uncharacteristic with how they played all season long. So it's going to be a nasty weather game tomorrow, very cold, not exactly ideal conditions for a soccer game, but they're going to have to fight through the elements because their season will be on the line.
Yeah, you got to put it all out there, no matter the weather. Got to do it. Pierre, let's talk about Sunday. Vikings have a big one, too.
Definitely a big one, and it's funny because this is a game that, they just come off a big win on the road against Detroit, but they come back home against a team like Baltimore, a team who deceptively is 3-5. I know a lot of people are thinking, well, their defense has not been great all season long, and that's true. However, their defense has been a lot better over the last couple of games. But when Lamar Jackson is back healthy and you have a healthy Derrick Henry behind him, it's the priority number 1 is going to be stopping the run, just like it was against Detroit on Sunday with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Minnesota had struggled against the run leading up to that game against the Lions, but they proved last Sunday in Detroit that they could be a team that is capable of stopping the run, holding Detroit to just 65 total yards of offense on the ground. They're going to have to repeat that performance on Sunday, Simone. That is going to be the most imperative part to me of this game, is slowing down the rushing attack from Baltimore, not just Derrick Henry, but also trying to contain Lamar Jackson and not letting him break loose on some plays where you have great coverage down the field, but before you know it, you turn your head and there goes Lamar finding a way to create something out of nothing. So that is the big challenge with this team. I think Minnesota is going to be up for the challenge, but they are an underdog in this game, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I mean, they proved a lot of people wrong against the Lions. The Lions that game was so fun to watch. And it's kind of like, if we don't get that same energy and momentum, it's kind of like, doesn't matter.
That's the hard part, is trying to repeat the success that you had. That's what's so tough about this league. Repeating the success that you have been able to show on a weekly basis. Hopefully you use that home field crowd to your advantage on Sunday, and hopefully that could play a major role, because it is going to be.
Pierre, you had a low. It was the service.
It's the service, it's the weather, it's a bad combination of everything going on here today in Minnesota.
It's a Pierre Friday.
Yeah,
Where are you? Why is your signal so bad? Aren't you in Blaine? You're not in northern Minnesota.
I don't know. Ask the people who run the state. Aren't they in charge of the internet or something like that? Who's in charge of the internet in Minnesota?
Oh my God.
Pierre. Oh my gosh.
Got anything to say about Wolves? You got about 60 seconds.
Yeah, they're playing the Jazz tonight, right?
Yep, they are playing the Jazz tonight. Thank goodness Anthony Edwards is back in the lineup, although it didn't do him much good the other day against New York because that second half was a complete disaster against the Knicks. But it's the first game of the NBA Cup for Minnesota.
Oh, my God.
Still young to be... What? Don't blame me. Don't blame me. I don't.
It's looking like it's your fault. I mean, nobody else had this issue except for Corin, who's in the middle of nowhere.
No. How can it possibly be my fault? How can it possibly be my fault? All I have is a phone, and I'm given what this state and whatever it is, like the powers that be who control the cell towers and the internet. I'm at their mercy. How can it possibly be my fault?
Is it your work phone or your personal phone that you're on right now?
That's neither here nor there.
Well, I was going to say, if it's the work phone, we can blame the station. Oh, we lost him again.
Listen, I can keep some things close to the vest.
We can always. I love a Pierre Nugent rant.
I love a Nugent rant. All right. We're gonna get out of here, guys. We got some zen to end the show here. Ducks on a pond. It's Friday. Go relax like these ducks. We'll see everybody on Monday. Simone, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Great to have you.
Thanks for having me. I had some fun. Ooh, we'll leave you with this beautiful picture. Have a wonderful weekend.